Have you ever felt like the whole world is moving faster than you are? Like you're stuck at the starting line, watching others take off, wondering if it's too late to even begin? If that feels even a little bit true, then this video is for you. Not because we're here to say it'll all be easy, but because we want to offer you something even more powerful, a way of thinking that can turn failure into opportunity, and I can't do this into I can't do this yet. Did you know that J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, began writing the first book while she was unemployed, living on government support, and raising her daughter alone? Her manuscript was rejected by 12 different publishers, 12 different people telling her no, that her story wasn't worth it. But she didn't stop, because something in her believed that with time, with effort, with enough small steps forward, the story could get better, and she could get better. And you already know how that story ends. That belief that we can learn, improve, and rewrite our future is what helped Rowling and millions of others do what once seemed impossible. That belief has a name. It's called a growth mindset. And if you stay with us for just a few minutes, we'll unpack how a growth mindset really works, and more importantly, how you can start building it for yourself. What is growth mindset? Growth mindset is the belief that our abilities, whether it's intelligence, creativity, leadership, or even emotional strength, can be developed over time. It's the idea that with effort, the right strategies, and a willingness to learn from mistakes, we can keep getting better. It stands in contrast to a fixed mindset, which tells us that our qualities are carved in stone. That if we're not good at something now, maybe we're just not meant to be. Picture someone trying to learn a new language. They stumble through a few sentences, feel embarrassed, and slowly decide, maybe languages just aren't for me. That's the fixed mindset talking. But with a growth mindset, those same awkward mistakes become part of the process. They laugh at their own mistakes, listen more closely, and keep practicing. Little by little, they improve because they believe that with time and effort, something hard can become something familiar. And that's what makes growth mindset so important, especially as adults. Because life doesn't necessarily get easier as we grow, it gets more complex. That's why this mindset matters, now more than ever. The world around us keeps changing, and if we want to keep growing with it, we need to believe that growth is still possible. Why growth mindset changes everything. 1. It transforms how we recover from failure. A growth mindset doesn't make failure feel good, but it makes it feel useful. Instead of turning away, we ask what the moment is trying to teach us. Consider the story of James Dyson, the British inventor and entrepreneur. Before achieving success with his revolutionary bagless vacuum cleaner, Dyson went through 5,126 failed prototypes over 15 years. Each failure wasn't a defeat, but a lesson, guiding him closer to the final product. Dyson viewed each misstep not as a sign to quit, but as a necessary step in the learning process. His perseverance exemplifies the growth mindset, embracing challenges, learning from mistakes, and persisting despite setbacks. This approach doesn't just apply to inventors or entrepreneurs. In our daily lives, adopting a growth mindset means viewing failures as opportunities to learn and grow. It's about trusting that progress comes from showing up again and again, learning from each experience, and continually striving to improve. 2. It opens doors we didn't think were for us. Sometimes, the most powerful shifts don't come from changing what we do, but from changing what we believe is even possible for us. One person who lived this truth is Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in poverty in rural America, facing years of pain and abuse during her childhood. When she began her career in television, she was eventually fired from her first job as a news anchor because her bosses said she was too emotional for hard news. For many people, that would have been the end. A clear sign to step back and settle for something safer. But Oprah didn't see it that way. She saw it as a sign, a reminder that just because one door is closed doesn't mean all of them are. So she found a different space, a small talk show, where she could speak from the heart, connect with people, and bring her full self to the work. And that shift didn't just restart her career, it became the beginning of something iconic. Because here's the thing, Oprah didn't wait for someone to tell her she was ready. She didn't wait for permission. She leaned into her strengths and, in doing so, created a new path, one that hadn't existed before. 3. It builds long-term motivation from progress, not perfection. True growth starts when you refuse to let failure define you. Michael Jordan is the perfect example. Early in high school, Michael Jordan was cut from the varsity team, a crushing blow to any young athlete. But instead of giving up, he launched into relentless self-improvement. He practiced every day, added chin-ups and stretching to grow taller, and stayed laser-focused on making the team next season. That setback didn't break him, it became his launch pad. Jordan said simply, "Learning is a gift, even when pain is your teacher." He flip-turned failure into fuel. And that mindset carried him from overlooked sophomore to NBA legend, 6-time champion, and global icon. His own words capture it best. "I've missed more than 9,000 shots, and that is why I succeed." And that's why a growth mindset matters so much. If you start to believe, "I can't do this yet, but I can learn how," then you're already halfway there. How to build a growth mindset? Step 1. Notice the beliefs that hold you back and rewrite your story. Most of us carry quiet beliefs about ourselves that we've never really questioned. They show up in small moments, when we say things like, "I'm not a people person," "I don't have discipline," or "I've always been bad with numbers." We've said them for so long. They start to feel like facts. But they're not facts. They're habits, patterns of thought repeated so often they start to shape our identity. Sometimes they come from a single bad experience, sometimes from something someone else said. And without realizing it, we internalize those beliefs and let them define what we think we're capable of. Here's one simple practice that can help shift that mindset. Step 1. Take a few quiet minutes and write down 3 beliefs you've been carrying about yourself, especially the ones that sound like limits. Step 2. For each belief, ask, "Is this always true? Where did this come from? Did I choose this, or did I just get used to hearing it?" Step 3. Rewrite each belief in a more open way, something that leaves space for growth instead of shutting it down. For example, "I'm not a people person to social situations drain me, but I can learn to connect in ways that feel true to me. I don't have the discipline to finish things." To "Discipline is a skill, and I'm building it." This small act of noticing the story, questioning it, and rewriting it might seem simple, but it's powerful. Because growth doesn't start with certainty. It starts with a quiet decision to stop believing everything you've always believed and to give yourself permission to become someone new. Step 2. Welcome feedback. One quiet sign of a fixed mindset is how we react when someone gives us feedback. Even if it's small, even if it's meant to help, there's often a voice inside that flinches a little, because somewhere along the way, we learn to link feedback with judgment. So when someone says, "This could have been better," it doesn't feel like advice. It feels like a spotlight on a flaw we were hoping no one would notice. But growth mindset helps us hear feedback differently. Instead of thinking, "They're pointing out something wrong with me," we can learn to think, "They're pointing towards something I can improve." And while that shift might sound small, it changes everything. Because the more we believe we can grow, the less threatening feedback becomes, and the more valuable it starts to feel. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, is someone who proved just how powerful this mindset can be. When he took over as CEO, Microsoft had a culture of, "We know everything already," a place where feedback felt threatening, and teams were rewarded more for being right than for learning. So he made one idea clear from day one. Instead of being know-it-alls, we will be learn-it-alls. From that moment, Microsoft transformed how it saw feedback not as something to defend against, but as a shared language for growth. It became normal to ask for input, normal to admit mistakes, and normal to use feedback as fuel for improvement. So what can we learn from that? The next time you receive feedback, especially the kind that stings, try saying just one thing. "Thank you. Let me think about that." That sentence does 2 things. First, it gives us time. It slows down the emotional reaction and lets our brain stay open instead of defensive. Second, it shows the other person that we're listening, not because we agree with everything, but because we care enough to consider it. That one sentence builds a habit, and over time, it teaches our mind to stop treating feedback as a personal threat and start treating it as something that might help us grow. Because the truth is, people with a growth mindset don't think they're perfect. They just believe they're capable of getting better. Step 3. Track your progress. One thing about growth mindset that's rarely talked about is this. Even if we believe we can grow, we still need reminders that we are growing. Because when progress is slow, it's easy to start second-guessing ourselves, to fall back into that old thought, maybe I'm just not getting better. That's why tracking progress matters, and one of the simplest ways to do that is by writing it down. Just one short line at the end of the day can be enough. I didn't get it right, but I tried again. I chose to see the mistake as part of the process. I went to the gym when I didn't feel like it. Putting it in writing matters more than we think. When it stays in your head, it tends to fade. But once it's on paper, even a sticky note, even a phone note, it becomes real. It turns a quiet moment into visible proof that growth is already happening. And this isn't just feel-good advice. It's a principle that built one of the most influential self-improvement movements in the world. James Clear, author of the global bestseller Atomic Habits, built his entire method on this exact idea. Every day, he wrote down one small improvement, just 1%, one tiny habit change, one new observation, one line of progress. So before we finish, let's just bring it all together. We started this video with a simple question. What really helps us grow? And what we found is that it's not talent or confidence. It's the mindset underneath. A growth mindset means believing that we can improve through time, through learning, and through small steps forward. We saw how a growth mindset helps us get back up after failure, how it opens doors we once thought were closed to us, and how it keeps us going even when the progress is slow. And in the second half, we broke it down into something more practical. How to actually build that mindset, a little at a time, by noticing the beliefs we've been carrying without even realizing, by staying open to feedback, especially when it's hard to hear, and by tracking small signs of growth. If there's one thing I hope stays with you after this video, it's this. Growth mindset isn't about who you are, it's about who you're becoming. If this helped in any way, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also turn on notifications so you won't miss future videos. Thanks for watching and for being here.